A tedious way to travel. The student who's covered the length of England by bus to highlight the difficulties faced by passengers with disabilities.
There was rarely a day on this trip where I wasn't waiting for a bus that was late, or I was waiting for hours for a connection.
Now, a disabled photography student has travelled more than 850 miles on buses across England to highlight the challenges faced by disabled bus pass users. Dan Bowhay, who's visually impaired, travelled for up to 10 hours a day, catching 26 buses over 10 days from Land's End to Berwick upon Tweed on the Scottish border. The final year student at Arts University Bournemouth has made a documentary about the trip, as Kirsty O'Sullivan reports.
A journey with a unique purpose. Arts student Dan Bowhay is visually impaired and dependent on public transport. He's set himself a mission of travelling 850 miles by bus to show just how tricky that can be.
I grew up in Hampshire, in Bishop's Waltham, and in the last 10 years I've seen the bus services go from 3 buses to 1 that service my town, and realising that as I come close to graduating, this isn't a viable place to go back to. Being disabled, I can't drive, so that opportunity isn't there for me.
I'm not convinced it's going to show up.
Dan says his trip presented many challenges. His bus pass isn't valid until after 9:30 each morning, and he says he spent a lot of time waiting.
I spent a lot of time looking at timetables, working out what was there, and even during the trip these timetables were changing, and there was rarely a day on this trip where I wasn't waiting for a bus that was 40-50 minutes late, or I was waiting for hours for a connection.
Well, while delays were plentiful, Dan says audio and visual announcements were pretty scarce.
There was only 3 buses that had audio, 1 bus that had a screen, so getting on the bus I spend time staring out the window trying to work out what's going by and where I am and where I need to get off. I'm visually impaired, but for people who are blind, I mean, not having those systems, it would be pretty difficult to travel independently.
We could just to stop before the border.
26 buses over 10 days. Dan says his feat was far from enjoyable, but he's pleased he accomplished his goal and has created a film about his journey.
When I made it to the end, there was definitely a sense of joy that I had, however challenging, accomplished this journey. But yeah, along the way it was this sense of kind of boredom and frustration of just how long this journey took. I spent 10 days sat on a bus, and it's something you can drive in a day.
Dan's film will be showcased in Bournemouth and London over the summer.
I'm happy that I've done it, and happy that it's kind of getting out there and getting this message that there's a need for change across.
Kirsty O'Sullivan, BBC South Today, Bournemouth.